Hello, I'm Charlotte Pearson, founder of Crochet with a Cause. Today we're going to learn how to make a simple hat. I normally run workshops in Manchester that bring people together to learn how to crochet. These hats are then sent to Calais or taken down by myself to be distributed to refugees and asylum seekers. The idea is that they provide practical warmth and a reminder that they will not be forgotten. If you're watching this tutorial to learn how to make a hat for yourself, I would ask that you consider making a donation to a refugee charity. For example, Care for Calais. To begin, you will need a crochet hook. This one's 4mm, but you can kind of go between 4, 4.5, 5. If you feel like you want a bit smaller, that's fine. If you want a bit bigger, that's fine too. You tend to match the size of your hook to the thickness of your wool, but just do whatever feels comfortable. For wool, you're looking for quite a standard thickness. I wouldn't go too chunky initially, or too thin. This is just from Abercarn's in Manchester, although lots of charity shops sell it, and actually Age Concern does balls of wool for 99p, which are the ones that I use for my workshops because then it's a bit like a double donation. So, to get started, we're going to wrap this bit of wool around these two fingers, like that, and then when you have a hoop, you're going to push this bit through here. So you see, let's just go through there. Then you want to pick up your hook, put it through this bit, and then just pull these two down here so it's nice and tight. And that's it, you've cast on, you're ready to begin. Once you've cast on, you want to make your initial chain. It wants to be about the length of your forehead to the crown of your head, which is also about the length of your hand. So my chain will probably be about from here to here. To make your chain, what you want to do is hold in this shape. So you've got the knot between these two fingers and the wool wrapped around your first finger and kind of held by your little finger and fourth finger. If you have this nice straight line, it's really easy to grab the wool and pull it through. So I would recommend trying to perfect this before you do the chain. To make your chain, grab your wool and you're just going to pull it through like that. The trick is not to make the chain too tight, because if you do, it's going to have a real struggle when you do your initial crochet line. You would need to get the head of your needle through each of the hoop in your chain, so you want to leave it loose enough that that isn't going to be too difficult and put you off crochet forever. So watch again, grab your wool, pull it through like that, and again grab your wool and pull it through. As you can see, I'm moving my third finger and my thumb up each time, and that's because you can kind of use where you're holding it to guide the wool over the end of your hook. And again. Lovely. And I'm going to leave you to get on with that. Once we have our chain and you perfected that nice hold, we're ready to do our first line of crochet. So what we want to do is go in, not into this one that's next to where we are, but one that's one along. So not in here, into this one. So in we go. And we're going to do the same as before. Pull it through one, but then pull it through two. So after you've done the initial stitch, into the one next to you, pull it through one, pull it through two. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way along. So into the next stitch, pull it through one, pull it through two. Sometimes people in my workshop struggle knowing where to go in, but look, can you see how that's a chain that you've made? So each time you're just going into the center of that chain, and that's why we didn't make it too tight, so that we can get the head of this hook through each time. So push it through, pull it through one, pull it through two, push it through, pull it through one, pull it through two. Can you see how I'm using my other fingers to kind of help? Especially at this chain stage, it can sometimes be a bit more tricky. If you want. And what we're going to do is do that all the way to the end. For those of you finding that easy, please feel free to skip along until this says second line. For those of you finding that a bit tricky, I've made a bigger version. So, we've got our wool, we've got our hook. This is our chain, and it's a little bit easier to see on this wool. Can you see how there's kind of like a V? So that's a chain, that's a chain, that's a chain, that's a chain, and so on. And what we're doing is, we're just going into kind of the center of that V, hooking our wool through, and again, and then just into the next one. Pull it through one, pull it through two, and one more time for those at the back, into the next one. Pull it through one, pull it through two. Don't get freaked out if it looks weird. It always looks a bit odd until you're about halfway along. So no stops until you're at least halfway along your chain. Okay, alright, see you at the end. Hi, welcome back, and congratulations on your first line of crochet. If you're not here, if you're really struggling, drop me a line on Crochet with a Cause. I'm always happy to help and troubleshoot. So here we are, just doing my last stitch on my first line. Before we turn around to go back the other way, this is really important, you need to do an extra chain like this. And that's because if we don't, we're going to end up with a piece of crochet that is a triangle instead of a rectangle, and that doesn't work for a hat. So we've done our extra chain, turn around, here we are, and we're doing the same again. We're not going into the one next to us for the first stitch, we're going to go into the one next to that, so don't go in here, this one. We're going to go into the top and out of the back, and the same, pull it through one, pull it through two. And we're doing that because it makes a really nice ridge effect, which looks really good for the beanies, because people quite often choose really bright colours as well. So we're not going in there, we're not going in the middle and towards us, we're going into the middle of that V chain along the top, into the middle, pull it through one, pull it through two, into the middle, into the middle, out the back, pull it through one, pull it through two. If the person helping you crochet doesn't do it like that, or if you've crocheted before and you haven't done it like that, that's fine. You just might not get that ridged effect, but it's up to you whether you want that or not. What we're going to do now is do that all the way back to the end of the chain. And we're just going to keep going backwards and forwards until this gets wider and wider and wider. But you must remember at the end of each end of your chain to do that extra stitch, that extra little chain, so that you don't go inwards. If you do start to go inwards, my two troubleshooting tips are: A, make sure you're doing that chain each time, and B, make sure you're getting right to the end stitch at the end of your chain. Don't turn around here, don't turn around here. Make sure you're going right to the end before you turn around. Perfect. So we're going to come back when we've got a piece of crochet that goes, this thick bit here goes the entire circumference of your head, or of a person's head, if you don't want to measure your own. If you're worried that you've done the chain a little bit short and that it's not going to be big enough for a hat, don't worry now, because we're going to crochet a rim into the bottom bit. So if you've done this a bit short, we'll just do a bigger rim. I don't want any worries at this stage. And if you need any advice, any help, or you just want to show me where you're up to, Crochet with a Cause is a place to go. Alright, see you in a bit. Hi, welcome back. I hope all your projects are going well. If they're not, Crochet with a Cause, hit me up, let me see how I can help. Just a quick note on changing colour, because I know some people are wanting to do some nicer patterns, or are really thinking about the people who are going to get the hats and think that they might like some stripes or just some little pops. So I'm just going to show you quickly how you can change colour. It's really easy. So I've changed the colour of my wool, from the original, because I realised that I needed it for a project that I've been doing for 4 years and still not finished. So we're on this lovely orange colour, also from Abercarns. So here we are at the end of one of our just normal rows, and what we're going to do is just secure this by pulling this bit of wool through here. Cutting it and pulling that nice and tight like that. Okay, and then all you want to do now is get your new colour. I've done a little snip knot there. Here's one I made earlier, and just go back in the way that you have been doing. It's a little bit trickier because you have to hold the piece, your crochet piece, and the wool and the hook, but once you've done a few it kind of holds itself, so it's okay. So all we're doing is the same thing that we've done as we've been going along, which is pull it through one, pull it through two, and just make sure those first few stitches are really, really tight. Perfect. Apologise for the state of my nails, but I haven't got any nail varnish remover and I feel like it might not be an essential item, so got a nice rustic nail look today. So do that to the end of your row and then just turn around and go as you have been doing. Another thing that I like to do just to make sure it's a bit more secure is tie these two ends together here like this. And then some people who are really neat and tidy like to sew these ends back into their crochet, but I'm not very neat and tidy, so I just tend to cut them quite short and then make sure that they're on the inside of the hat when I sew it all together. So you've got it, just a little colour change there. So now we're ready to crochet in the rim of the hat. My piece is a little bit smaller, apologies. I'm going to Calais in 3 weeks, so I'm trying to get this video out as soon as possible so that people can make some hats to take with me. So your piece, I think, will probably be about 3 times the size of this one. If you want to make a small one for a child, that's fine. There aren't loads of kids in Calais, but there are a few. So here we are at the end. I haven't done my extra chain, we're just at the end of a line, and what we're going to do is imagine that this edge, which will again be about 3 times as long on yours, is the bottom of the hat, and we're just going to crochet kind of perpendicular to our stitches before into this end bit. If yours is a bit more wonky than mine is, that's fine, because the rim kind of hides some of that wonkiness. So what I would say is, if one edge of your hat is more wonky than the other, make the less wonky side the rim side, and we'll hide the top wonky bit in the top of our hat. The rim can be as wide or as narrow as you want. If you've done quite a small headpiece like I have, then I'm probably going to do maybe 10 of these rows along the bottom for the rim so people can fold it. We're looking for maximum warmth as well as style, and so if you've got a rim that can fold, that keeps people's ears warm as well. What we're going to do is, from where we are, is do what we've been doing crochet wise, exactly the same thing, and we're going to treat this edge like it's our initial chain, but the bits we're going to crochet into are I normally do one in between the row and one into the end of the row. It doesn't really matter how often you do them. What I would say is if you don't do stitches in often enough, it can make your hat less stretchy. So you probably want to make sure that you're getting kind of one in, so maybe like one on each side of the ridge and a couple of extra ones. Like I said, they don't need to be super regular, they just need to be many. Definitely don't only do one per ridge because it just won't stretch, and then it'll only be good for a tiny head. You can see this bit's just where I've tied two ends together. When I thought I might change colour there, but I didn't, and that's fine, that's come undone. Bit of troubleshooting there, just go in a bit lower. And this is why I love crochet, because it forgives so many sins, and if you're not very careful, like I'm not, it's very easy just to troubleshoot. So what we're going to do is, I won't bore you by doing it all on camera, is just do that all the way to the end of this one of your long edges. Oh, I've got a little knot coming there as well. So yeah, what I've been doing is, you can see, is going in kind of once per long row. But again, doesn't need to be super neat. Look, I've got a little one that's going a bit further up here. Remember, we're going to fold the rim up, and we just want to make sure that we've got enough stitches so that it's still quite stretchy. You can imagine that if you only have one stitch here instead of two, this top bit is going to stop it stretching as much, and we want it to be nice and comfy. So once your rim's as thick as you want it to be, obviously this is very thin, but I want to get this done so that you guys can start making hats for me to take. Normally I do 10 of these ridges, which is 20 rows, but if you're, well, when your top hat piece is a lot longer, it can take a long time. You basically just need it to be thick enough that, ideally so it'll fold over to keep ears warm, but definitely thick enough that when you fold it up, it's going to stay and not just fold down. To sew it up, what you'll need is a needle and thread. I've got this really chunky needle that I can actually put wool into, which is good. But if you're going to use just normal needle and thread, I would suggest making sure your stitches are really small and tight, just because you don't want it to come apart. Remember, people are going to wear these, so they need to be quite durable. So we're just going to get our hat round. That's where it's going to meet. Don't worry if all the edges don't meet nice and neatly. What you can do is just stretch one edge so that by the time you get to the end, there's not anything extra here. And remember, this is going to be the inside. So what I like to do is sew the rim a different way on the other side to where I sew the rest of the hat, so that when you fold the rim up, you don't see this seam. So we're just going to start by going through here, making sure that they are matched up together. If you like things to be really neat and tidy, you can use the same colour wool for the rim as you have used to crochet, but I'm just going to use this one for now, and actually a bit of contrast is quite nice sometimes. And as you can see, I'm just putting the needle through the same side each time, and then pulling it tight. And the idea is for there not to be a gap between the stitches. You want it to be really tight, really secure. Then, once you reach the bottom of the hat, or the head bit, what we're going to do is we're going to turn this inside out. So, more stitch. Then I just poke the needle through so I can find it on the other side. And then turn it. So just turn it inside out on itself, like this. You can see there's going to be a little tiny hat, but nice and stretchy because I've done lots of stitches along the bottom. And then I'm just going to do the same thing all the way up to the top. So same side every time, pulling it over the top, nice and tight. And remember, if you've got any bits where maybe one's quite a lot shorter than the other, just stretch like this so that they're meeting. Okay, so I'm going to pause now and I'll see you when we've stitched right to the top of here. Right, so here we are at the end. Obviously, to be really secure, all your stitches should be touching down here. This hat will not be making its way to Calais as it's just a tiny little one. So I haven't worried about that, but just to make sure that's really secure, please make sure they're all touching. So now we're going to make a drawstring to pull together the top of your hat. And to do that, we're just going to go in and out of the top. The stitches can be quite big. I kind of go in between 2 rows and then out between the next ones like this. But what you do want to do is pull it tight as you go along. So do a few at once if you want to as well. And just keep pulling it. If you pull it at the end, it's hard to get it as tight as you want it to be. So just pull it as you go. And you don't want too much of a gap between the top and where you're crocheting in, because otherwise you'll get a big lump of wool kind of on the crown of your head. And comfort is key, guys. Comfort and warmth. So you can see it's kind of coming together like a drawstring here, over there, all the way around. So now just pull that real tight. There you go. So it's all bunched up like this. And remember, this is the inside of your hat, so if it's a bit messy, no stress. We're not going to see it anyway. And then what I like to do is just sew through this big mass that you've got here on the top. And this is why it's kind of good to have a wool needle. They're really cheap. You can get a pack of them for a couple of pounds. Although if you live in Manchester, just give me a little message on Crochet with a Cause, because I've got loads. I'm happy to give you one. And you can see I'm kind of going over the top, just pulling it real tight. And I'm going to do that quite a lot because we want the top to be quite secure. Everyone's now seeing how clumsy I actually am. Easy, but actually I've got very very poor hand-eye coordination. And just while you're sewing this up, this is a nice kind of time to think about who's going to be wearing it, the warmth that it's going to provide to someone, and that feeling that even someone's just thinking about them. I think a lot of people who've been displaced, who are asylum seekers, refugees, feel a bit forgotten. We allow them to feel forgotten, I think, in society. They've often been through a lot. So a little token of remembrance, and that someone's thinking about them, that they want them to be warm, and that we haven't forgotten that they are there, is really key. This is about learning new skills for ourselves, but it's also just about connecting with someone else and a little bit of kindness. So there we go. I mean, I would probably go in a few more times if this was going to be making its way to Calais. I like it to be really secure, and what you can kind of do is give it a pull to see. That's pretty much all right. And then just keep going till you get to one end, and then do whatever you normally do to secure, but I like to tie a load of knots in it. So what I'm going to do is just do quite a small stitch through near the end. Just go through myself, pull it really tight, maybe another little one on top. Just go through myself, pull that really tight. Amazing. And you're done. So now we're just gonna turn this the right way around. There we go. Make sure your rim's tucked up there. And that's it. Some people like to put a little pom-pom on top. There's loads of tutorials for making pom-poms online. You just need a bit of cardboard and some wool. If I was gonna make one, I'd probably make it the same color as this rim. And you just put it on, use your needle and thread, whatever you've been using, just to sew it through, and actually that can put a bit more security on that inside bit as well. So thank you very much. If you fancy doing this in real life, then I actually run workshops in Manchester once or twice a year. You can follow Crochet with a Cause. If you want to send me your hat, lovely, just message me, or if you just want to send me a picture of you in it because you're really proud of it, again, love to see that. Just send me a little message. If you've used this tutorial to make a hat for someone else and not for yourself, I would ask that you consider making a donation to a refugee charity. As I said at the beginning, my one of preference is Care for Calais. I volunteered with them, I donate to them. I think they have a really good model. I think what you donate goes straight to the people who need it. But you might have someone in your community, you might have been supported really well by an asylum seeker or refugee charity. It's up to you guys. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and please get in touch. Thanks.